Last video. All right, so let's add another paragraph in this HTML. Let's put it right after this H2 element that says float property. We'll talk about some of the things that we covered in the previous video. We'll say the 3 columns in this section are inside this article container. Using the float property, moves them as far to the left or right within the container. Also, since its bottom section contains floated elements only, the footer is overlapping with it, or it was. So we have used the overflow fix. Now, speaking of moving something as far to the left or right, I want to show you something. Save your HTML, go to your CSS, and we will change the float left to float right temporarily. Save that and refresh your page. Now, elements are floating as far to the right as the container will allow. Article stops about right there. There's a 20 pixel margin right there because we set for each div to have a margin to the right of 20 pixels. Now here's the thing about going backwards now. When your browser is reading this, it sees column 1 first. So it pushed it as far to the right as the container will allow. And then it read column 2 next, and it pushed it to the right, but column 1 was already there. So it stopped right here. And then column 3 was next. It went to the right, but stopped right there because these 2 columns were already there. Let's make that float to the left again. Let's add a paragraph right after the 3 divs here. We'll put it right here. Say, where am I going to end up? So this paragraph's like, yeah, where am I going to end up? It appears, oh, let's see where it appears. Let's save that and refresh. Oh, it appears to the right of the 3 divs. So this is what I meant when I said that if we put anything here, a block element or another floated element, it will fit there if it's the right width. And for block elements, if there's room for its content, it will go ahead and put itself there. Now, before we continue with this, let's take a look at another concept. Clearing floats. When you make elements have float properties, they're going to float side by side, but you can tell certain elements to not have anything touch it on one side or both sides, or it can touch elements on both sides by default. If you say clear left, for example, then the left-hand side is not going to touch any other elements. And then if you say float clear right, then it's not going to touch anything on its right hand side. And if you say both, then neither the left hand side or the right hand side will touch any elements. And then if you say none, well, it can touch either side. So let's use that. Let's make it to where we set column 2 to where it does not touch anything on its left hand side. And since I'm already in the HTML, we'll go ahead and create or add a class. We'll call this one X left, as in nothing to the left. Save that. We'll create that X left selector. Clear left. Save. Refresh. And now you see that column 2 does not have anything to its left hand side. And that pushed this paragraph that was actually declared right after the third div. It didn't end up here. It actually pushed itself here because there was room for it, because column 1 is floating to the left. And there's a 20 pixel margin because we told it to have a margin to the right of 20 pixel. Now, if you want to add a space at the bottom between column 1 and column 2, we could set a margin bottom of 20 pixel. And that will add that space right there. All right, let's continue with this paragraph. And this is no longer accurate, so we'll say it appears to the right of column 1 because there is room for this paragraph to flow around, and because column 1 is a floated element. This is what happens when you use the float property on an element. It is similar to the concept of text wrap. And just to show you something else, I don't have very much more content to add to this, so we will just copy what we've typed in so far for this paragraph and paste it twice just so we can add content, make this paragraph bigger, because I want to show you what happens. Save that, refresh. Now this paragraph, as it gets bigger, will continue to float around these floated elements. So that kind of has that same concept as text wrap. So as you're thinking about your website project, and if you want to do something like this is how you can make that work, by using the float property. Last paragraph. Let's make it to where we apply this X left class to this paragraph. Let's see what happens. Save, refresh, and now because we put the X left class, because we applied that to this paragraph, it will no longer have anything touch it on the left hand side. So it pushed itself down until it no longer had anything on its left hand side. So let's talk about that. If the previous paragraph is no longer to the left of column 1, then it is because of the X left selector. This shows that the clear property can also apply to non-floating elements. In our first example of using this, we applied it to a floating element, but this shows you that you can also use it for non-floating elements. Save that, refresh, and that completes Lab 4A. Woohoo! Your next step then is to go to Blackboard and check out the Lab 4A submission instructions.